Okay, we are live. I am live on Instagram and on Twitter, and I am live via StreamYard on Facebook and LinkedIn and YouTube. And if you're wondering why my background is a crescent moon, it's because it is the beginning of a lunar month. It is the lunar month of Nisan for in the Jewish calendar, and it's also the beginning of Ramadan. So, any Muslim viewers that I have, just wanted to wish you a Ramadan Mubarak, and may you have a blessed and peaceful Ramadan. So, let's get started. So, my name is Hadassah Bitar. I am a life coach and a well-being advocate, and I help people live with vigor and dignity, and in particular, aging with vigor and dignity. And lately, I've really been focusing on the contents of this little box up here because it is really crucial to healthy aging. Okay. Um, Really, there's all sorts of body parts that we can still have a good life with them not functioning very well. And I've just been listening to some disability activists like Judy Heumann of blessed memory and Elsa. How do you pronounce her last name? I don't know. I don't have her book up here, so I don't have it to hand. But she's a deaf-blind person who's gotten awards for her writing and so on, and she's amazing. And she wrote a memoir called Being Seen. I really need to dig out her last name. I know it's a Scandinavian name, but really made me conscious of the kind of terrible ableism in our society. But I think most people would agree that we want to keep our brains in particular functioning as well as possible for as long as possible. Because while there's absolutely no doubt that everyone deserves dignity, whether their brains are fully functional or not, it is no question in my mind that as we age, we do want to keep our brains working as best they can. So I've really been focusing on this concept of cognitive well-being, and there's a lot of things that come into this. If you watched last week's video, then I enumerated some of them. And yeah, if you didn't watch it, you can find it wherever you are watching right now, whether it's Instagram, Twitter, or YouTube, Facebook, or LinkedIn. You can find last week's video last Wednesday, Wellbeing Wednesday, um, on wherever it was. So it might be easiest to go look for it on YouTube, but it doesn't matter. You can watch it. And the point is that there's a number of things which are important for functional well-being. Sorry, just bending forward because I just wanted to grab my cheat sheet about that. So multifaceted approach to cognitive well-being. Showed it to you guys last week. But basically, sleep, food and nutrition, physical activity, stress management, brain health, and social fitness. And those are all the really important aspects of keeping your brain working as well as it possibly can. So today I'm going to talk about sleep. And if you followed me for any length of time, you've heard me talk about sleep. It's funny, I went into my documents and just searched sleep to see what I'd said at other times, and a thing popped up from 2018, and here it's 2023. So go figure. Still talking about sleep. So that just shows you how important it is, at least in my world, and I would hope it also is in yours. So what's the deal with sleep and why is it so important? Because I mean, for many of us in this world that we live in, we kind of wish we didn't have to spend time sleeping because a lot of people are very driven, they're very busy, they've got lots to do, they've got deadlines and so on, and they try to get along without sleep. And you know what? It just doesn't work very well. What do they say? I'll sleep when I'm dead. Yeah, I don't think that's what we want. Maybe some people feel that way, but for most of us, I think we would like to put that off as long as possible. And for sure, lack of sleep is not a way to have a long and healthy life, even if it's just because it's been shown in studies that sleep deprivation can be just as bad as drinking alcohol when it comes to, for example, operating a motor vehicle. So if you're driving and you are sleep deprived, you are just as dangerous as someone who's driving under the influence. And that has actually happened to me when I had a newborn. I didn't even realize how sleep deprived I was, and actually got into an accident, and thankfully nobody was hurt. My van was in the shop for 6 weeks, but thankfully there was no long-term repercussions from that. But it was scary, and it was my fault because I was sleep deprived. So I do take sleep deprivation quite seriously. Although I am just as guilty as anyone else of wanting to stay up a little later, and I'll just look at this and I'll just do that. And then it's, all of a sudden it's late. And I do like to get up early in the morning. I am a morning person. I do get a lot of good work done in the morning, but you can't have it both ways. Maybe when you're young you can, but when you get to my age, it's really, you cannot burn the candle at both ends. You are going to end up with a very burnt out candle. And I've certainly noticed effects on my sleep when I don't get enough of it. So anyway, so when I was looking through my stuff from 2018, and I found something that I'd written at that time, which I thought was really cool and bears repeating. So I will talk about that in a minute. Those are just basically three tips for getting a good night's sleep. But I'm going to get to that in a minute. But I want to talk for a minute a little more about sleep and brain health. Okay, because people have found that if you don't get enough sleep, it actually ages your brain. And we really need the sleep not just to integrate, dreams are thought to be part of integrating our lived experience with everything that's already stored in our memory and so on. And that's another thing, is that sleep deprivation will affect your memory. And God knows memory's already affected enough just by normal aging. I don't know about you, but some days I just cannot remember things, which is aggravating because I used to have a memory like a steel trap, but I don't anymore. Thankfully, there's, phones and can write calendars and so on. So I don't have to remember a lot of things, but it's really important to try and keep memory as best you can. And there's no question that not getting enough sleep or not getting good enough sleep, that's the other thing. Quality of sleep is important as well. And if you are not getting enough of the different cycles of sleep, then that can be a problem as well. And insomnia is a very widespread problem. But even people who can get to sleep, if they're not getting enough of it, it is going to cause harm to your brain. I mean, other parts of your body as well. But right now, I'm kind of focused on the brain because, like I said, we can replace or do without most of our other body parts. But I don't think anybody can really live without their brain. So unless you're, the scarecrow. But even then, he was pretty smart for someone without a brain. All right, let's slow down. So, sleep. We want to talk about tips for getting a good night's sleep. So, the top one that I have here on my list is, it's funny, I wrote, "You are not going to like this one." It's definitely the hardest one for me. Turn off the screens an hour before bed. I have heard Brenda Bouchard talking about his 3-2-1 sleep system that he does. Now, Brenda Bouchard works extremely hard. If you've ever seen him in person, which I have at conventions, that man he keeps going. So he needs to sleep. So what's the 3-2-1? It says 3 hours before bed, no food. 2 hours before bed, no work. 1 hour before bed, no screens. Now, I have to say that is super hard. We're all glued to these phones, and it's especially when, if I get on Twitter in the evening, I'm a goner because You can just keep scrolling and scrolling, and especially if there's something going on, then it turns into doom scrolling, and it's even worse. So, yeah, turning off screens an hour before bed, or even 30 minutes before bed, is I've also seen. But if you really want to have good quality of sleep, an hour before bed is a good thing to do. It's hard. It's hard because, like I said, we're all attached. And somebody said that, the best engineers in the world have worked very hard to get us addicted to these things. So it's important for us to make sure that we actually take care of ourselves. And so I have a little reminders that come up on my phone, and of course I ignore them because that's what we do. But at least we're trying. So it really is better for your quality of sleep. I have noticed because, for example, on Friday nights, like we turn off all of our electronics for Shabbat from Friday night to Saturday night. And there's no question that if I turn off my phone and all my electronics and then we read, have some time with the family and just sit and read a book for a while, it is it is better sleep. And generally longer sleep too, because I don't stay up as late. So, and then of course Saturday night, as soon as we see 3 stars in the sky, we run and turn on our phones again because we're addicted. But at least we have this 25 hours of um, weekly detox from electronics, and it's definitely I notice that affects the quality of sleep. So I really should do this more often, but it's hard. We are addicted to these things. So first one is turn off screens, you know, 30 minutes to an hour before bed. And if you're Brendan Burchard, you make it an hour. If you're, you know, a lesser mortal, even if you can do even 30 minutes, it's going to be good. Let me see what else we got here. Okay. Oh, I just have to read you what I wrote. Why do we need to turn off the screens an hour before bed? Because of the blue light. Our brain is 20,000 years old and it doesn't understand electricity. When it sees blue light, it thinks it is daytime and it's time to be up and awake. The blue light interferes with making melatonin and other sleep hormones. We'll talk more about melatonin later. And with everything that you need for your brain to wind down and put you to sleep. Hence, if you read a book instead, it'll be easier to go to sleep. It says this is really important and very hard to do in our always connected age, but it's really important to have that discipline. And that's what it comes down to, really, isn't it? Is discipline. And then the second one is this one is a lot easier to do. You need a dark, cool room to sleep in. And I think I wrote this when I was really, really into Dave Asprey's stuff because he's really, really hard on blue light. And I actually have, blue blockers, and he sells, dots that you can put on all those little blue lights in your bedroom and so on. So he just, dark, cool room to sleep in. And dark means dark. And the prohibition on screens includes television. If you have to have an alarm clock, try to get one with red numbers instead of blue. Again, you don't want to have blue light shining on you while you're sleeping because it will cause your brain to think it's time to wake up. And then I wrote, in general, you should try to not do anything in your bedroom except sleep and sex. In particular, try not to have your desk or laptop in your bedroom. You don't want to be looking at it and thinking about work when you're trying to go to sleep. I am amazed at my own wisdom from 2018. But here's the thing is that all of these things can be really hard to do, and it goes against the grain. And, social pressure can be hard. If everybody has a TV in their bedroom, then it can be hard to argue why you should not. But it's kind of like masks nowadays. I was talking with a friend of mine who's been masking all along, and then she said, starting last week, she just felt she was one of only one or two people who were wearing masks where she went. And so she stopped wearing them. And I was like, okay, so you're okay with getting sick a couple of times a year, which is apparently what the prediction is that Americans are going to get sick, going to get COVID at least twice a year. And people are wondering why people are dropping dead from heart attacks in there, you know. She was like, no, I don't want to get it. So, well, then put on the freaking mask. I mean, there's really not a lot of leeway here. But I mean, this is an aside. I was going to talk about sleep, not about COVID. Somehow it manages to get in. brain health is part of this multifaceted approach, but it's not what I want to talk about today. So, number one, turn off screens 30 minutes to an hour before bed. And then, secondly, keep your bedroom dark. And I never did end up putting little stickies on all the blue lights, but I should do that. All right. And then the third one was about sleep aids. Come on. I want it open for me. There we go. Sleep aids. Okay, substances that can help you go to sleep. Okay, so I'm not going to talk about things that might be illegal in some places, although here in Canada we do have the ability to use cannabis products. I personally don't use them, but I used them probably a little bit too much when I was in university in the Netherlands, so I don't have a need for them now. But they can definitely help you get to sleep if you have issues with that. Um, I've been really enjoying using essential oils, especially lavender and frankincense. Just use one of these rollers and put it on your feet and under your ears and so on, and it's just really helpful. And then, of course, there's melatonin. Um, Comes in lots of different forms, tablets. My daughter likes to use chewables for that. They're gummies, actually. And personally, I like the sleep spray. It's really quick and easy and easily absorbed. It's not habit forming, so that's what I like using. And I actually have one that I really like. So if you want to learn more about that, you can just drop me a message, and I'll be happy to let you know about it. So just to get back, because I see I'm going a little longer than usual. Maybe I shouldn't go on tangents, but hey, it's part of the charm, right? So just a reminder of the three uh, top tips for getting to sleep and the importance of sleep for your brain. So don't skimp on it. Really take it seriously. So number one is turn off your screens 30 minutes to an hour before bed. Number two, cool, dark room to sleep in. You know, you don't want to be waking up because you're too damn hot. I always get nightmares when it gets too hot in my bedroom. That's no fun. And number three, if necessary, essential oils, melatonin, possibly chewables, whatever works for you to help you settle down. I mean, I don't really know anything about pharmaceuticals for this. Thank God I have not had to use them, so can't really give you any sort of advice about that. I am not a medical professional. I don't play one on the internet. I'm just a person who's been in this world for over 6 decades. So yeah, that's where I want to leave it for tonight. Thank you for joining me. If you're watched it live, thank you so much. I appreciate you. If you are watching the replay, that's awesome. You could drop a comment, say #replay. I would love that. And thank you, and have a great evening. And I'll talk to you again soon. Bye. And broadcast.